What up, y'all? This is Tracy from Nerd Squish, and today I'm going to talk about the best movies, TV shows, albums, and books of 2023. 2023 is coming to an end, and with that, I want to reflect on my favorite things of the year. So today I'm going to break down 16 things in 4 different categories and talk about the best of the best, in my opinion. Now, before we get into the list, if you're a returning viewer, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. And if you're new here, this is Nerd Squish, where we take everything spooky and we take everything nerdy and we squish it all together. So if you like books, horror movies, and pop culture, definitely hit that subscribe button so you can see more videos from us in the future. We're gonna start my best of 23 with books. Now, books are the one thing that are gonna be kind of treated a little bit differently than all the other categories, as all these books weren't necessarily, I don't think any of them actually, were released in 2023. I don't know, I read books when I hear about them or when I get my hands on them, so I'm not always like up to date with the books. So again, these are not books that were released in 2023, but books that I read for the first time in 2023. Get over it, I make the rules here. My first book on the list is The Night Parade by Ronald Malfi. This is my most recent read, and to be honest, it was kind of hard to get through, just because, it takes place in this world that's taken over by a virus that's killing everyone, and, we kind of lived that, so I really didn't want to read about that. I am not a person that wants to watch real world things. I want monsters, I want the supernatural, because I read a book or I watch a movie to escape reality. So, anyway, it follows a father and daughter duo, David and Ellie, who are on the run in this post-apocalyptic world where this disease called Wanderer's Folly has taken over. And Ellie is immune, and her blood is believed to be a cure for the disease. However, her mother was the same way, also immune, and in testing to try to figure out how to use her blood to cure the disease, well, she died. So as a result, David picked up his daughter and they're on the run trying to escape these doctors, who want to bring her in for testing to cure the world. But it's like, okay, well, I already lost my wife. I don't want to lose my daughter. It's intense. It's definitely giving a little bit of The Last of Us. I feel like I've accidentally picked up a number of virus, disease-heavy books, and, I would read them and I'd be like, The last thing I wanted to do was relive the pandemic, right? But I'm very glad that I stuck it out with this book, as it was super, super good. The characters were great, and it was super well written. The second book on my list is Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. This book brings a somewhat refreshing take on werewolves. It follows our main character, Rory, who heads back to her hometown to take care of her sister, who's pregnant and living alone. Now, she feels a little bit weird about being back in her hometown, so she goes to her local bar one night, as one does, and when she's leaving, she hits something with her car, naturally gets out the car to investigate, and is attacked. Throughout the story, you get to walk through her journey and her discovery of what actually happened that night. You start off in this disbelief of like, yeah, there's no way that I can be a werewolf. Then you go to the point where she's like, okay, no, this is really happening. I'm gonna lock myself in a cage. I'm gonna videotape the transformation. And oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm a werewolf. The characters are super relatable. There's comedy mixed in with body horror. And when I say body horror, it's actually pretty graphic, which is kind of surprising. Now, I don't know much about this author. This is the first time I've read any of her books, but kind of based off of the other books that I've seen that people have hyped up on TikTok, I didn't really have a lot of hope for this book. I didn't really think it was gonna be what it turned out to be. I'm thinking it's gonna be like a Twilight situation, and not really much in the way of monsters, but kind of like monster fluff. But boy, was I wrong. This was honestly one of the most fun and original werewolf stories that I've read in a long time. I finished this book in one day, and I never do that. Granted, I was working fully remote at the time, and the power went out for like a full day, so I didn't really have anything else to do. But still, I'm not a person that's gonna sit still for that long and start and finish a book in one day. I'm a slow reader. I get distracted. So that says a lot about this book. Needless to say, I will be checking out more from Rachel Harrison. The third book on my list is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Now, I'm a full-on Grady Hendrix fangirl. I love every single one of his books. I was super pumped about this one, and it did not disappoint. The story follows Louise, who finds out that her parents died, so she has to go back home and get her childhood house ready to sell. However, in order to do that, she has to work with her low-life brother Mark, who she really doesn't get along with. And he's not the only obstacle. The house seems to have a bit of a mind of its own, especially all of her mom's creepy dolls, specifically the one named Pupkin. But don't get this twisted, this is not just another creepy doll story. It is much darker and deeper than that. It deals with childhood trauma that is passed through the generations, and it hits hard. Now don't worry, Grady's signature comedy is still mixed into this story. After all, what heals trauma more than dark humor, am I right? It's really hard to pick my favorite Grady Hendrix book as they're all amazing, but this one, it might be my new favorite. And my final favorite book of 2023 is Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. This story follows the younger sister of Victor Frankenstein, Angelica, and her attempt at making the perfect man. All Angelica wants is true love, so after assisting her brother with making his monster, she thinks, wait a minute, I can just make my own perfect man, sculpted with my own hands. Oh yeah. So she goes to the morgue with her brother, picks out all the perfect parts from all these different men to create her perfect man. The only problem is when he wakes up, he's not instantly in love with her, and he has no idea who he is. And all he wants to do is find out who he was before he died. Although I'm a sucker for any interpretation of the Frankenstein story, this one is definitely one of my favorites. Not only is this one of my favorite books of 2023, but it's one of my favorite books that I've read in a long time. Next category, I'm going to talk about my favorite movies of 2023. Now, I will say that 2023 wasn't a stellar year for movies, at least in my opinion. However, here are 4 that I really, really loved. The first movie on my list is The Flash. Now I know most people think like all DC movies are just like terrible, but I'm a DC fangirl, so without a doubt, regardless, I'm going to watch them. And I'll admit, even though DC movies do feature some of my favorite characters of pop culture, the movies are a little lackluster. However, this movie is the exception. While this movie wasn't the same story, it was loosely based on one of my favorite comic stories of all time, Flashpoint. I mean, they basically took the concept of the story and just applied it to what we've seen in DC cinematically through the years. And I love everything about the movie, but the thing that stands out the most, obviously, is the fact that Michael Keaton returned to his role as Batman. And when I tell you that every time he was on the screen, I was just screaming. Don't even get me started when he looked into the screen and he was like, you wanna get nuts? Let's get nuts. Obsessed. I love it. And look, I know Ezra Miller sucks. He's not a good person. He plays a really good Flash though, which is awkward. And this is not me being like, I'm an Ezra Miller stan. No, I'm not. I'm saying in this movie, when I watch it, I see the Flash and he plays it really well. So it was a really, really great movie, incorporating a lot of fan services and subtle nods that just really, really made it a standout amongst all the other DC films. My second movie on the list is The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Now, if you saw the review that I did for this movie, you know that I was completely obsessed after watching this, and it was in fact my entire personality for like a really long time. There have been many movie adaptations of Dracula over the years, but this one stands out amongst the rest for several reasons. The movie is not only based off of the novel of Dracula, but specifically chapter 7 of the book that is written through the perspective of the captain that is sailing on the ship of the Demeter, traveling to London with Dracula on board. Now, the chapter itself doesn't go into a whole lot of detail. You have a bunch of people on a ship, one by one they die, the ship crashes, and people are like, what? So this movie fills in those details and those gaps to make you understand what these people felt on this ship, stuck out at sea with Dracula. This really showed us a different side of Dracula that we've never seen before. Instead of seeing the suave, well-dressed man, we saw this freaky little creature just feeding on blood to grow to full power. This is hands down one of my favorite movies of the year and one of my favorite Universal monster adaptations of recent years. The next movie on my list is The Machine. We all know the legend of The Machine, so to see that story come to life on the big screen was an absolute blast. The movie was a passion project for Bert Kreischer, as he had been trying to make the viral comedy bit a movie for years. Now, if you're not familiar with the story of The Machine, what rock have you been living under? Please change that. I will leave a link to that in the description because you make me sad. Anyway, the movie follows the partially true story of Bert Kreischer when he was in college, went to Russia, became involved with the Russian mafia, and robbed a train. It's silly, it's fun. Mark Hamill plays his father. What's not to love? The last movie on my list is Renfield. This movie tells the story of Renfield, Dracula's familiar, and his quest to live his own life free from his master's rule. Now, I had high hopes for this movie, and even though it wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be, it was still an absolute blast to watch in the theater. The New Orleans setting was fun and vibrant, and Nicolas Cage as Dracula was just entrancing. I need more of Cageula, and I will not rest until I see him again. My next category is the best music of 2023. Now, I will confess that, I'm a creature of habit. I'm old, so a lot of the times when it comes to music, I'll listen to the same things that I've been listening to since high school, okay? If it itches my brain that right way, I'm just gonna listen to things on repeat. And as I grow older, this only becomes more of the case, listening to the same things over and over again. So for this list, I'm only gonna have 2 albums, but I'm also gonna add 2 just noteworthy music items from the year. All right, much like the rest of the world, the first thing on my list is Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token. Now, obviously, Sleep Token has been having a moment because their song The Summoning went absolutely viral on TikTok. And what's funny about that is, again, I'm old. And a lot of songs on TikTok, I didn't know they're like real songs. Like a lot of them, I'm just like, oh, it's that sound on TikTok. And then like, I happen to be out somewhere and I'm like, it's the TikTok song. And people are like, no, that's just an actual popular song that's out and you're old and you don't know what these things are. However, this song is the exception to that because when I heard this, I was like, I need more. This is juicy. Everything about this band is just infectious to me. It's alternative, kind of progressive metal, but it features so many different genres that it's just amazing. It's groovy, sexy metal, and I dig it. If they redid Queen of the Damned today, 100% Sleep Token would be the soundtrack. Tell me I'm wrong. And then the thing that gets everybody's attention is obviously the fact that the band is anonymous. They all wear masks. They don't use real names. They're referred to as Vessel 1, 2, 3, and 4. Who are they? I don't know. I want to know. And it's just intriguing and it's wild. They're that full package. It's great music, but we've got like this just mystery to them that just lures you in. This is 100% an album that has been playing on repeat in Casa de Nerd Squish. My second favorite album of 2023 is Sting by Emarosa. On September 15th, 2022, one of my favorite songs and music videos was dropped, that being Stay by Emarosa. The video contains the members of the band dressed up as Teen Wolf-style werewolves, performing in a diner and cruising around town. I was instantly obsessed, and no, it's not because of the werewolves. The song is legit amazing, and it's just got this feel-good vibe. So when the full album Sting dropped in January of 2023, I listened to it on repeat and became obsessed with the entirety of the album. Emarosa has definitely evolved a lot over the years. They've had many different iterations of the band, but this current one is probably my favorite. I was a huge fan of the Peach Club album with its synth pop rock influence, and this album kind of picks up from there but puts a lot of influence from Michael Jackson and Tears for Fears. I will be rolling into 2024 still obsessively listening to this album. Okay, so like I said, those are the only two albums that I have to really talk about. These other two things are just like music related, right? So the next thing on my list is Blessed by a Broken Heart dropping an original new song and a midnight cover. One of my favorite bands of all time is the 80s inspired glam metalcore band Blessed by a Broken Heart. They were huge during my high school and college years, and I was lucky enough to see them live multiple times. And they were honestly some of the most fun shows that I have ever been to. The hype, the energy of those shows is unmatched. Unfortunately, their last album came out in 2012, so I've just basically been listening to their old stuff on repeat until they dropped 2 new songs this year. The first one being an original song titled Shots Fired, and the second one being a cover of the Midnight's Days of Thunder. Not only was I excited to see them back in action, but the fact that they covered a song from one of my other favorite bands, legendary. So here's to hoping that we get some new music from them next year. And my final music tidbit of 2023 is seeing the Midnight live at White Oak Music Hall. This was my first time seeing the Midnight live, and I can guarantee that if they ever come anywhere near me again, it will not be the last time, because they were one of the best live shows ever. Flawless. Like, they sound just as good live, if not better, than they do recorded, which not many bands can say that. So without a doubt, if they come to a town near you, don't think about it. Buy the tickets, go see them, you will not regret it. And to wrap up my favorites of 2023, we're gonna talk about TV shows. This is a super fun show that originally premiered in 2021. It follows a trio of strangers that share an interest in true crime podcasts, and they become friends when they start investigating a string of suspicious murders that happen in their apartment building. It has a brilliant cast of Selena Gomez, Martin Short, and Steve Martin. And honestly, the show only gets better. The 3rd season is the one that came out in October of 2023. And like every season that we were binging, I was like, the next one's not gonna be good. Where could they possibly go with this? And then like the new season would start and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this. So without a doubt, if you like murder mysteries, you need to be watching this show. The next show on my list is Platonic. The show premiered in May of 2023, and it follows 2 former college best friends that reconnect as adults, and they do all this while both of their lives are kind of falling apart. The 2 main characters are played by Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, and let's face it, you cannot go wrong with those 2. They're hilarious, and you just can't help but watch their like train wreck antics. I feel like this is another show that's kind of flown under the radar, not a lot of people talk about, but it definitely deserves the hype. And my 3rd TV show on the list is Shrinking. This show stars Jason Segel, who plays a therapist who is becoming more involved in his patients' lives as he's also grieving from his wife's death. And on top of that, he has a teenage daughter who's also grieving her mother's death. And it just shows how they're all struggling to find normalcy in a life that, you know, has a little bit of a void in it. It perfectly blends comedy and drama, and man oh man, is it good to see Jason Segel again. I love literally everything he's done, but, you know, we haven't seen him in a while, and, you know, until I get that Dracula musical, this show will do.
I could play something else. I just think out of context this might be...
Dracula musical!
Thank you.
The entire cast is amazing, but one of the second best things about the show is the fact that Harrison Ford actually plays his boss. So you have 2 amazing actors in the lead. One minute you're gonna be uncontrollably laughing, and the next you're gonna be hysterically crying. This is a beautifully written and underrated show. And my final favorite TV show of 2023 is Wolf Like Me. Now, if you've watched some of my recent videos, you probably already know that I'm obsessed with this show. It follows Gary, a single father living in Australia, with his daughter Emma, as they're both mourning the death of Emma's mother. And then one day they get into this crazy car accident and they meet Mary, who's this just, quirky, beautiful woman Gary falls in love with, and no, she's also a werewolf. It's a hilarious, heartfelt, and well-written show that is severely underrated. And this was the second season that premiered in October of 2023, and I'm hoping that we get a third season soon. Nothing's been announced yet, but it's not often that we get a really solid werewolf show with practical effects. So here's the hoping. So that is my favorite books, TV shows, movies, and music of 2023. I cannot wait to see what 2024 has in store for pop culture. I know one thing's for sure. Movies seem to be good. I mean, we got a lot of concepts. Obviously, we have The Wolfman coming out, which I'm excited about. But there is a lot, specifically in the horror genre, coming our way that looks to be promising. What were your favorite books, movies, TV shows, and albums of the year? Let me know in the comments. Now, before I sign off on this video, I want to talk about what my absolute favorite thing of 2023 was, and that was you watching this video. I love making these videos so much, and I've been doing this, I don't even know how long. Has it been like 5 years now, 6 years? I don't even know. But I have so much fun doing this and getting to connect with people from all around the world, and it has just been awesome. So without a doubt, you watching this video, you making me come back and record these videos again and again. So you, on the other side, you're my favorite thing every year. So thank you so much for watching videos, commenting, liking, and being a part of the Nerd Squish community. If you liked this video, give it a big old thumbs up. It definitely helps out the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, so when new videos hit the channel, you'll be notified. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you nerds in 2024.